If you love travel, you're probably very well aware that there are positive and negative things to travel. And one of the negative things is feeling lonely. That's a really, really common problem. And I noticed that from the reaction with my last video that I recorded on expat loneliness, that this is a problem that affects a lot of people. And I think that it's something that we really need to talk about more openly. I'm Tasha from Travelandtash, and today we're going to talk about 2 hacks that you can use to stop feeling so lonely. Now, just to clarify, when I say lonely, I'm talking about a feeling of essentially being isolated from the people that we love, the people that usually are the ones that care for us, and being in a situation where you're taken out of your environment or you're choosing to leave your environment and you suddenly feel like you don't have that support network. Now, in my previous video on expat loneliness, I talk about the fact that a lot of expats, particularly expats here in South Korea, will use dating apps and just use dating in general as a way to just connect with other people. And sometimes I think that it's not necessarily that they're looking to have sex per se, but oftentimes it's searching for that intimacy with somebody, feeling like somebody cares about them, that that they are important to somebody. And the problem is that when expats are in a position where, say, for example, you've been dating somebody for a few weeks and then suddenly the relationship goes sour, the feeling of loneliness at that point can end up being amplified, can end up feeling more dramatic, because not only are you feeling lonely and away from all your friends and your family, but now you're also, no longer in a relationship, and you thought that you had that emotional connection and that emotional support, which has suddenly been taken away. So what I'm going to suggest are that there's 2 factors specifically that affect this feeling of loneliness. One is an internal and one is an external. And there are things that we can do to help both of these factors. Now, internal, the way that you feel, the focus that you give to this so-called problem, and the way that you internalize it and stew about it and brood and let it affect you in a really negative way, can be really, 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 really destructive, similar to depression. And I think that if rather than letting it fester within you, to actually decide that this is essentially a feeling, that loneliness is a feeling, and that since we actually have control over our feelings, that you can use your focus on something else that will actually make you feel good instead. And in my particular case, what I do is, rather than focusing on trying to fill that gap or that space of not having those familiar friends that I usually have around, or that familiar family support, with actually instead focusing on the things that I love doing, discovering more about myself, discovering what hobbies I actually really love doing, and actually doing them. And, in my particular case, that's building my Travelandtash brand, that's learning how to do video editing, that's teaching myself how to improve my website. All of these little things that, people might classify as hobbies or something more serious, they really, really give me like this deeper sense of validity and this strength within myself, that I feel that I'm doing something that gives me pleasure. And I'm currently single, and I have no interest in even meeting anybody at this stage, because I'm so full with all of my wonderful tasks, and I'm so busy that I don't even have time to think about whether I have enough friends or not. I find validation in the work that I'm doing every day, my goals and my targets, and keeping busy with things that I really derive pleasure from. And so recognizing and taking responsibility for yourself, and deciding that you're going to change how you feel by doing something that's constructive and that you enjoy is a really, really, really important step to changing the internal factors of how you feel. In my case, that also includes things like doing exercise every day. I do yoga, stretching, I do meditation, and all of these things together help me feel internally really strong, and there is no space for loneliness. Having said that, externally, there are factors that you can control that will help you feel like you're part of a community, or that you have that support, network, that you're slowly building that. So if, say for example, you're an expat like myself, where you have the opportunity to begin to build bonds because you're in a place for a more extended period of time because of work or whatever the case is. In my case, I join meetup groups. I like to go hiking. I join a Spanish language group. I love going dancing. I don't do that regularly anymore, but I absolutely love it. I love going to Toastmasters meetups. I haven't done that in a while either, but I absolutely love the challenge of learning how to speak publicly and pushing myself and challenging myself to do that. There are all kinds of meetup groups where you can meet people that do similar fun activities that you love to do, similar hobbies. They might be professional interests. They might be things like, YouTube groups, people that are into filming. Spending time with people one-on-one is more, for me, it's more satisfying than spending it within a group, because one-on-one time is when you really get to know somebody better. And so I find that perhaps I might start off with meeting somebody at a meetup group. Like, for example, I met a friend, Chanmi, and also my former friend, Brenda, that I used to hang out with. She's since moved back to the US, but, we met at a Spanish language meetup group. And then after that, we ended up meeting on a Saturday afternoon before going to the meetup group together. And so we actually spent time shopping together, talking, and I got to know her better. And those one-on-one moments begin to cultivate deeper, richer friendships, like real friendships. And I find those encounters more fulfilling, and they can help to dispel any feelings of loneliness that you're allowing to brew. And so anyway, I hope that, those internal and external factors help you think about how you're approaching loneliness. And I'd also love to hear your stories in the comments down below. Let me know, what are your methods for making sure that you don't feel isolated, that you don't feel alone. There's so many people out there that have a challenge with this, and I think that just talking about it more openly is really, really helpful. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and stand by for the next video. Take care.